Hello, my Pleasant Valley peoples. Mr. Ramos here. Today we're gonna talk more about this wonderful tool that I asked you to make a bed sheet suspension trainer. And as I said yesterday, one of the main things we can use it for is to increasing our strength in hanging movements, like the hanging knee raises and the pull-ups, most importantly, because it allows us to pull our body weight, a portion of our body weight versus our whole body weight, right? To hang with a portion of our body weight like we would if we were climbing a ladder. So one thing you could do, as we talked about yesterday, is the body weight row. Now, when we do the body weight row, the rules, the technique rules, like the form rules apply the same as the push-up. I want that pooping dog position. So your abs are contracted, your glutes are contracted, and I want you to squish the armpit rolls, right? Squish down. So that way we're a nice stiff plank and our body moves as a unit. Actually, I say plank. In the push-up it'd be a plank. Here it's obviously a bridge because you're facing up. Okay? So we can work hanging in a bridge position. As we discussed yesterday in class, the closer your feet are to the door, harder it is. The further away your feet are from the door, the easier it is. Now, if you want to get a little bit more fancy, we can always go to one-arm pulls as well, right? I can just grab the sheet with one arm, and I can pull just with one arm, okay? So those two movements will go a long way towards strengthening your muscles of your shoulders and upper back to help you be able to do a pull-up. Now, as I said yesterday in class, we can also use it to improve our squats. The whole range of squats that we have. Like if we have problems keeping our back straight during the hip hinge movement that we use in our squat family, we can push our hips back while putting pressure down on the sheet, and it gets us into a nice long spine position. And then when we pull up, we can pull the sheet towards our hips and get a nice ab contraction there. We could also use it in the same way for deep squats. If you have problems getting deep into a deep squat, that sounds silly. Again, we press down, we pull down, we sit down as we reach forward, and we pull ourselves up. So the whole time we're keeping some tension against the sheets. Another thing, again, by the same token, we can also use it to help with our reverse lunge to balance, which is our next one in our squat family, where we keeping tension again on the sheet. We step back, and when we come up, we can use it to help us with that balance position by literally pulling the bed sheet towards your knee and your knee towards the bed sheet. Now, the next step would be the one-leg hip hinge, right? The one-leg hip hinge, it's just like we did with the regular hip hinge. If we start up here, we can sit back as we push the sheet forward, keeping tension in it the whole time. We can reach that leg back, like I said before, if you want to. But remember, the focus here, and as in all the squats, is moving the head and the hips together and keeping the weight on the tripod of the foot. So no matter which one you're doing, you're looking for those two things. Next one is the stork squat, where we start with the foot up here, and we go down, and we don't put the foot on the ground, and we come up, right? We can lightly touch the foot on the ground, but eventually I want you not to put the foot on the ground. And you can use, here it's better to kind of pull it a little bit, you can use the bed sheets to help you with that movement, to help you keep the weight centered on the tripod of the foot, to help you move the head and the hips together, keeping everything in between nice and stiff, like a long lever. And then finally, the pistol squat, right? That's really hard to do. But if we use a bed sheet, it makes it way easier to keep the weight in the center of the foot and to move ourselves up and down just with one leg. Now, please, when you're doing any of these squats, do not lean back on it. Because when you lean back on it, you put all the weight in the heel, right? And as we've talked about before, I don't want all the weight in your heel, I want the weight in the tripod of the foot. That way you can transfer to no bed sheet squats, okay? Of any type. Uh, what else we could do? We could also work the planks. Now, this movement is called, if you had like an ab wheel, right? If you've ever seen an ab wheel, it's the same concept. It's called a rollout. And basically it looks kind of like a push-up where I'm pushing up. And the further away my arms are from my body, the harder this movement becomes, right? All my muscles in the front, my abs and everything else have to contract harder here than they do here, right? And the plank gets harder as I go out. Now, we can also do this on one leg. Notice I came away from the wall because it's easier up here. No, I said one leg, I meant one arm. We can go up and down. And again, I'm leaning on it, my weight's on it. Less weight than when I have my feet next to the door. But I can just do it one arm at a time, just to make it fancy, just to kind of throw in that rotational aspect to it. Finally, you can also use the legs as the point of contact that you remove, right? You can march your legs out and then make it like a march. And this would help with those one leg balances as well, right? Because every time you remove one leg, my body has to balance out and I'm just kind of have less stability. Therefore, my core and everything else has to work harder to keep me in a nice straight line. Finally, you can even do some bridge variations with this, right? You get tired of doing all the bridges we do on the floor, you can do some bridge variations with this. If you're hanging, right, this is a bridge position. So from here, you can sit back and then come forward. And that's just like that bridge we do on the ground, right? But hanging. You can even make the bridge longer by hanging your arms so you can sit back and come up into a full extension. And then sit back and come up into a full extension. Here I'm even coming up on my tippy toes. And again, interesting different bridge variation that will help all the different ground bridges that we do. I hope this gave you some ideas. There's a bunch more things you can do with this, but I don't want to make this video too long. Remember, whenever we're doing a plank or a bridge, we want to keep that pooping dog position and we want to squish the armpit rolls. Whenever we're doing any type of squat, we want to keep the weight on the tripod and we want to move the head and the hips together. If you keep those basics in mind, there's a lot of useful stuff you can do with this bed sheet hanging off your door. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys, well, online tomorrow, live in a couple weeks. Have a good day.